I'm Brandon Caudell. I've been working with the Mediavine guys and gals for a long time, so it's awesome to be here. It's to be here with you guys. Just a little bit of background about what we do. We do work with traditional digital publishers, media companies, to help them grow their traffic and generate revenue, all while using content. So today, my day-to-day is more focused on big media companies. So it's very refreshing, and I'm thrilled to be here with a group of people who are real. So thank you. But yeah, we got our roots about 5 years ago with companies just like yours, small and medium-sized blogs. That's how we started our company, and then we grew into this, very large company that we work now with companies like Condé and Time and AOL, et cetera. So that's where I spend most of my time today. But it's very refreshing to get back to people who actually are genuine about the things that they write about. And so thank you for having us. So today, really, I think a lot of you probably are wondering, if you haven't already, what the heck is this thing? I've seen it maybe in the Mediavine dashboard. So my goal today really is just to help you guys understand what it is we do, how you guys could benefit from using ZergNet, and hopefully, bring a little bit of clarity to just the overall process and what we can do. So without further ado, we'll just jump right in. So, am I talking too loud? Can you guys hear me? All right. So basically, at a very high level, ZergNet, we are a platform, and our business is focused on two aspects. One is to help expose content that you're creating to new audiences to ultimately drive those users back to your content. So it's a way to essentially grow your audience. And then we also have a monetization component as well, where we are, again, delivering relevant content to your users and ultimately paying you to do that. So rather than just using a traditional display ad, for example, or some of our competitors in this space will show more like performance-driven ads like credit card signups and belly fat ads and skin creams and a bunch of really nasty things. We don't do that. We just show real content. So that's what makes us different. Everything we do is manually curated, so our roots are in content. Everything we do is content-driven. And so that said, half of our staff at the ZergNet team, they are editors, and literally what they're doing is they're manually going out and hand-curating every piece of content. So in a ZergNet, what we call widget or module, which is just a related content unit that you guys might have seen, every article you see there has actually been manually curated by a member of our team. So we're going out to every site that participates, and we're hand-picking this content. We're curating the image, we're curating the headline. So it ensures that every piece of content is real, every piece of content is brand safe, and hopefully every piece of content is relevant, which, in food we're learning food is not, all things food is not created equal. So we're learning. So part of my goal here this week as well is just to learn from you guys too. If you're not using us, why? How can we get better? And also maybe just bring a little bit of clarity to what do we do and how can you get more from us as well? So this is, let's see here. So this is the first part of our business. This is the traffic exchange. And we did a really cool thing with Mediavine. It's the first time we've ever actually done this. But our traditional business model is a ZergNet, what we call an organic traffic exchange, which is you host a related content widget on your site. So today, for example, you could find us on sites like Oprah and Food 52 and Epicurious and All Recipes. And you'll see a ZergNet unit on the page. And in exchange for users engaging with a piece of content there, we'll then expose those articles from Oprah.com, for example, on other sites and drive those users back to the content on Oprah.com. What we've done recently with Mediavine is we did that, but we basically white labeled that experience. So we're still exposing your content to other sites, but we're keeping it within the Mediavine community, which is very unique. So we're not, you're sharing audience with each other rather than sharing audience with Oprah or Food 52 or whatever. So we're keeping it within the Mediavine community, which is awesome. We've never done that before. So we're super excited about it. It went live. I think an announcement just went out, Amber sent out maybe a week ago or something. So it's very new. But this is a great way to grow your traffic, but then keep it within this awesome tight-knit community that you guys have built. The same process goes into that. So our editors are literally going out to all of your sites that are participating in the ZergNet platform, and we're curating that content into this experience to be then exposed to other sites within the Mediavine network. And so far, everything appears to be going well. Our goal there is to send you more traffic in return than what you send into ZergNet. So our goal is for every one visit you send to another Mediavine site, we'll send you 2 visits back. That's our goal. And so far, a majority of the sites are getting that, which is awesome. So you're benefiting by the incremental traffic, but you're also kind of helping the greater good of the Mediavine network, which is also kind of like a double positive. I guess I should probably hold on to this. The monetization component, so this is the second piece of ZergNet. So if you opt into ZergNet today from the dashboard, so I think I've not actually seen the dashboard, but I think it's literally just a matter of like checking a box, right? Like, hey, I want to join ZergNet, and there it goes. There's going to be basically 2 rows of results by default, right? The first row is going to generate revenue for you, and the second row is going to generate that traffic. So the revenue row of results is still going to be 100% content. It's going to be real articles from real sites outside of the Mediavine network, of course. But if you were to click on any of those, it would still take you to a real article from hopefully a relevant site. And we're beginning to subcategorize that a little bit. But it's not an ad. It's not a service. It's not a product. It's a real piece of content. So from a user perspective, it is an added benefit from a user experience perspective because it's just another piece of content from another site that we hope the user is going to be interested in. So it's another unique way to generate dollars without just slapping some nasty credit card thing on your site or putting just a traditional banner ad. Here's some things, and I don't like to read off this, so I'll kind of just zip through it, but these are some things that make ZergNet unique to other companies kind of in this space. So the human curation piece is something that no other company in the what we call content recommendation space is doing, right? So there's not that filtering process that goes into the content aspect. So again, we have literally humans just curating all of this. The machine learning piece, so we have humans basically feeding our algorithm, and the algorithm then is what's determining what to show the user, right? And there's a lot of factors that go into that. What are users interested in? Is it relevant? There's about 100 different data points we're looking at to determine what to show a given user. But we're not just relying on the machine to show a user something, right? We have the humans that sit on top of the machine. The machine then ultimately is determining what to show that user. And this slide here I think is important. So this kind of illustrates why the manual curation is important. You'll see the top row of results are ZergNet results, real ZergNet results. The bottom row is just kind of like other companies in this space. So just because we have a relationship with Mediavine doesn't preclude you from, I guess, using one of our competitors in the space. But my hope is that by kind of illustrating these sorts of things that that you might see the difference between the service that we're providing versus someone else. But in food, which is this top left, you'll see this is real results from a a food site, and then the bottom just below that are what we found on a food site from our competitors, right? Like credit card signups. Entertainment, so I know not everyone in this room is a food blog. Entertainment, it's going to be kind of like pop culture things with ZergNet, and I don't even know what these things are. Hot celebrities, it's terrible. And then I live in this all day, every day. It's so bad. And then the other is just kind of like a music site. It's actually seeing like real articles about music versus some sort of mortgage scam and whatever else that thing is. So these are some examples of ZergNet out in the wild on some, I would say, recognizable sites. So by default, I believe the placement of the ZergNet unit, if you opt into ZergNet, is going to be at the end of the content. One of the things I'm hopeful to be able to illustrate to those that are using the platform, maybe are curious about using the platform, is the placement of the ZergNet unit on your page actually dramatically impacts the value you extract from ZergNet. So what that means is you ultimately, as a site owner, have the complete control of where the ZergNet unit goes on your site. If we're 10,000 pixels below the end of the recipe or the end of the article, you're not going to get much value from ZergNet because generally users aren't getting all the way down there, right? So where we find ZergNet to be most effective is directly, at the end of the written content, whether that's a recipe, whether that's an article, whether that's a video, whatever it might be, because users are ADD, particularly in the digital space, and so they aren't going to scroll 10,000 pixels down the page to click on something. And so the more engagement a users drive with the ZergNet unit, the more dollars you'll make, and the more traffic essentially you'll get in return from ZergNet, which is actually this private Mediavine network we've built. So Pillsbury, we work with Pillsbury, General Mills actually. So you'll find ZergNet units on Pillsbury.com, BettyCrocker.com, et cetera. Tasting Table is another example. So one thing too that we're working on with the Mediavine team is we can customize the look and feel of the unit. So by default, there's kind of a standard design. So if you check that little box and say, hey, I want to work with ZergNet, there's a standard design that gets deployed on the site. That design can be tailored, so we can change the number of results, we can change the font, we can change the image size, we can do a lot of different things. One of the feedback we got recently when we made a change to thousands of Mediavine widgets was the images were too large. And so with that feedback, we actually cropped the images. So now if you are using ZergNet or look at a site in the Mediavine network that is using ZergNet, you'll find that the images, I think we got cropped like 20 to 25%. So we reduced the image size just based on the feedback. So that sort of feedback is actually super helpful to us because we want to make sure that we're tailoring to you guys, because at the end of the day, I mean, Mediavine is our partner, but we want to deliver a great experience to you guys as well. So Food 52 is another example. You'll see kind of what some of these units look like, and again, kind of some of the different things that we can do with the units to kind of like tailor it to your site's design. We have some that use this in the right rail as well. And so the user experience, I guess, with the ZergNet unit itself is once you actually click on the ZergNet widget, it will launch a new tab in the browser and then take you to what we call this landing page. Depending on which row of results you click on it, let's just say you click on the second row of ZergNet results, this will take you to this page where it will show this somewhat infinite scroll experience of additional articles. In the second row, this will actually just show all Mediavine content, right? So this will be articles from your peers and friends in the network. And we find that this experience, although it is a little bit different than maybe what some users are used to, we know that users really like this experience because it's, again, everything here is manually curated, it's all real content, and the abandonment rate on this page is very, very low. So over 90% of users that get to this experience actually continue on to another article. And so we know that people like it. And there's a lot that goes into what to show the user in this experience, but this is how we kind of generate that multiplier effect, for example. So with the traffic exchange, if someone engages with the ZergNet unit, the way that we're sending you back 2 visits for every one is this experience here. We get users to engage with multiple articles here. So so that's kind of the reason for this. I get asked that a lot, so I wanted to kind of illustrate that. But going back to the actual placement on the page. So again, you guys as site owners have the ability to control where that goes. And in many cases, I've looked at many of the sites within the network that are using the ZergNet platform. I found that the unit tends to be quite a bit down the page. And I think that you can extract significantly more value from ZergNet, be it dollars as well as new visits, by moving the unit further up the page. So maybe testing it above comments or testing it above even your own internal recirculation. These are all things that you guys have absolute control over, but we know in doing this with the biggest media companies out there that performance does increase by moving the unit up the page. So these are all things that the Mediavine team can help you guys with, but I think just in terms of best practices, we want to make sure that if you guys do opt into the ZergNet platform, that you're able to get the most value out of that relationship, right? And just to give you a sense of like who we work with, these are some, big flashy, this is like my flash card, right? This is like my stake to fame. But these are the types of companies that ZergNet's working with today, just to give you a sense of like our size and scale and the types of relationships that we have developed today. You can find ZergNet units on all of these media companies' sites. So we are a very trusted brand, and I think for us, particularly with Mediavine, we're really just trying to learn from you guys. So if you have used us in the past and have removed us, like that's fine. I mean, I'm not upset. There's no bad blood there, but I think that there's probably obviously a reason, right? Like maybe you've tested us and taken us off the page, and we just want to know why. How can we make that experience better for you guys? One of the things we're working on is creating subcategories within food. So a lot of these companies are more general food, so we can show, a mix of, recipes with meat and recipes with gluten and recipes with whatever, right? But we're finding with Mediavine, you guys have a lot of very niche brands, which is awesome. But we want to be able to cater to your brands as well. So it makes total sense if you're a vegetarian site that you don't want, a hamburger on your site, or if you're a gluten-free site, you don't want, a monkey bread recipe or whatever it is, right? So we're learning, and we're working with Mediavine team to be able to cater to that. So that's something that we're working towards. So any feedback that you guys have in that regard, share it with the Mediavine team so that we can learn, so that we can hopefully be able to cater to the specific audiences that you guys have. I won't use that, but so that's basically it. So I mean, we are just another way to generate revenue and grow your traffic. And the cool thing about the traffic component that again is new to us as a company is the fact that you're growing traffic but keeping it within this community that you guys have developed with Mediavine, which I think for us has a lot more meaning than our traditional model, which is just you're benefiting the greater good of all food sites. We wanted to keep it within the community. So with that said, I mean I know I zipped through this thing pretty quickly, but I don't know if there are any questions of those that have used us or question. Yeah, I know there's a mic. There's a mic running around, so.
Hi, I just have one question. So how do we know how often our content is being shown on other sites and whether or not it's beneficial for us to be a part of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you have two forms of reporting for ZergNet. So the revenue reporting comes through directly within the Mediavine dashboard. So again, by default, if you opt into ZergNet, you get both. You get the revenue and the traffic. The revenue data is available through the Mediavine dashboard. The traffic data is actually available through ZergNet. So you can come directly to ZergNet. If you're unsure how to get that, I'm sure Brad or Amber could help with that, but it's a pretty easy process. But you can log directly into ZergNet, and you can see exactly how much essentially traffic you've sent into the Mediavine network, if you will, and how much traffic you've gotten back. So that'll show you in real time, all of those numbers. And our goal again is to be able to deliver back to you more than you send out. And what I've seen early indications are most everyone that's participating is doing that. Does that answer your question? Yeah, sure.
Sorry, I haven't used it,
oh, yeah,
so
sure.
This might be a stupid question, but can you set it up so there's another line of photos from just our site. I guess my question is, a lot of us are using like related links within. So
Yep.
is there a way to do that?
Yeah, so that's not something yet we've rolled out, but I think we have the ability to do that.
Okay.
So you basically would have a third row of results here that would just purely be 100% your content.
Because a lot of us are using other plugins,
Yep.
so it would eliminate a plugin for us, and it
Yep.
also would keep the look
Yep.
the same.
Yeah, that makes total
So
sense.
currently, that's not available, I guess is my question.
It's not, but because we're adding content, so if you opt into ZergNet, we're already adding content from your site into the Mediavine exchange. We have the ability to take that content that we're promoting elsewhere and
Maybe it's just me. I don't know if
and plug it in. Well, no, I mean the internal recirculation is definitely something, particularly in the food community, that is very popular.
People are already on your site.
Yep.
It seems like if they like your content, they might want to stay on your site.
Yep, makes total sense. I think for us, like it's twofold. One, we find that the engaging with the ZergNet unit, in most cases, actually generates greater value to you as a publisher because you're getting more visits in return, right? Than a user engaging with a internal recirculation, which is somewhat of a difficult thing to get your mind wrapped around, because I think as a site owner, you're very proud of the content you're producing and you want people to stay on the site, right? And that's something that even at the very top level, when I talk to Time and Conde, they're like, well, I want to keep people on my site. I get it, but you have to look at it like with ZergNet too. One of the added benefits we bring is we're bringing new visits to your site, right? So we're bringing new users from other sites within the community to your content. So it's someone that may have never seen your site before, and hopefully they, then engage with more content on the site. So that's a very broad answer. The short answer to directly answer your question is we have the ability to do it. It's not something that we offer yet. I think it's just a conversation we have to have with the Mediavine team to see if that's something, because it's probably like some sort of WordPress plugin you guys are using. And that said, oftentimes those are fairly ineffective because it's just like, oftentimes they just like scrape your site and there's really no logic to like what it shows, right? So with us, because we're manually curating all this content, it's very tactical. So our people are literally going to your site, we're finding content that we know through millions of data points users are going to want to engage with that we think would be interesting, and then that's how we determine what to promote in the network, right? So it's not just a plugin just showing whatever. So I think that if we were to power that experience for you guys, you would find it to be much more effective than probably the WordPress plugin you guys are using today. But more to come there. We have the ability to do it, but yeah. Okay.
So I stole the microphone from my next door neighbor. So I've been with you for a while.
Okay.
I've had a great experience.
Thank you.
I love now seeing traffic on my analytics come from ZergNet, so I know it's working. But you're talking a lot about moving you higher up. The higher up you are, the more money I could make. Mm-hmm. But I'm a bottom line kind of girl. So who am I going to make more money from, you or Mediavine? Who is going to get my top-notch spot? Because it's going to be whoever's going to pay me more, essentially.
Yep. So we definitely don't want to replace or like a Mediavine ad, right? But oftentimes what I'm finding is the ZergNet unit might be below the comments. So in this case, like this is actually kind of a bad example. Pillsbury has us below the comments. The click-through rate of this unit could be probably double if we were actually above the comments. So it's very likely you'll still extract more dollars from a unit from Mediavine than with ZergNet. But that said, if there's an opportunity to put the ZergNet unit below a Mediavine unit, for example, we could do that. I mean, each site's layout's different. So, we could talk offline a little bit more and look at the site, and I could give you some ideas of where it might be. But ultimately, my goal is to, both like everyone to make more money, right? So I think that's. But yeah, the new thing is the traffic piece too, and so you have to also look at like what's the incremental value of the new traffic I'm getting, and how much money do I make off of that traffic coming to my site too, right? So there's also that added benefit of that as well.
Hi.
Hi.
My question is, you talked a lot about being able to customize the look and feel to, maybe I want a row of just 4 and not 8. So do I talk to Mediavine about that, or I just put in my little request? And
Yeah. So
boom?
all of those, all of those. We're very like. I'm actually now in a Slack channel with Mediavine. So like literally, I'm on my wrist. I get dinged by Amber at all hours of the night, which is awesome because that's how we live in the startup world. But so the short answer is, by default, you'll have 2 rows. The number of results in terms of the rows is something that, at least right now, we have kind of set. So if you opt into ZergNet, you get both products. You get the revenue and the traffic. That said, from a customization perspective, things that we can do are, fonts, styling of the widget itself. We can always add more results. So there is a site in the Mediavine network that opted to add a second row of revenue generating results, and they're killing it. So they actually have 3 rows of ZergNet. But from a user perspective, you can't tell which is which, right? You can't tell which is generating dollars and which is generating traffic. But they added a second row of revenue results, which we can do on our end, and they're making. Yep. Yeah, and it's a balance of 2 rows. Right now, the default is 4, I think. More to come there, but yeah, by default right now it's 2 rows, and it is a balancing act too. And we're very keen on user experience, so we get that, and we don't want to overload your site with a bunch of stuff. But in order for us, at least right now, the way that it's set up, in order for us to kind of add what we feel is the maximum value to you and to Mediavine is through the current design. So reducing the number of results isn't an option now, but we certainly can tailor the styling of the unit to fit more, natively into the site. Yep.
When you're doing this human curation and you're looking at my website, are there certain criteria that you follow? It's like, hey, this looks good. I mean, is there certain criteria that you go through to feature
That's a great question.
Posting?
That's a great question. So our editors are adding, across our entire network, hundreds of articles a day, probably thousands at this point. To give you a sense transactionally, we're doing, across the entire ZergNet network, we're doing 13,000, almost 14,000 recommendations a second across the site of a network of a few thousand sites, right? So we have hundreds of thousands of articles that are flowing through ZergNet. So that said, our editors are very good. They have a very good eye for, particularly in food. Are you a food site? Okay. So with food, they have a very keen eye of like what users that generally engage with ZergNet are interested in. So they look through the lens of what do I believe would be most interesting to other users in the community. That's generally what logic they're using when they determine what to promote from your site. But that said, if there are particular articles that are important to you for whatever reason, share it with the Mediavine team, and we can ensure that we add it. Because at the end of the day, we can add anything from your site, but we're somewhat doing it based on just what we know performs well across the entire ZergNet network. But because we have humans adding these articles and curating these articles, we have the ability to add whatever. So if there are certain articles. Yep. 100%. Yeah, that's super helpful for us because we want to make sure that we're delivering users back to content that's important to you. So if you have an article that's doing really well on Facebook, for example, or Pinterest or something, and you're like, hey, this is killing it for me. I'd really love it to be distributed in ZergNet, and we can do that. Just share it with the Mediavine team. I'm not sure what that process looks like, but we can get it figured out. So. We don't have a way right now for you to see exactly every article that's being promoted, but that said, every article that we add from your site to be distributed in the Mediavine network has a tracking variable added to the URL. So if you're using like Google Analytics, for example, or most of you probably are using Google Analytics, you can see all of the ZergNet referral traffic coming into your site. And the way that that happens is we append a little tracking code to that URL so that your analytics tool says that visit came from ZergNet, and it'll show within Google Analytics, it'll show you where that ZergNet traffic is going. So you can see on a URL level, hey, ZergNet is sending 100 visits to this particular URL.
So to get revenue and to get traffic, you have to actually have it clicked, correct? It's not a viewability.
It's not. We don't pay on viewability.
Okay, so what is your click-through rate? How many people are actually clicking on these? And I know it'll depend on
Yep.
where it is,
Yep,
correct?
sure.
So let's say you have it in the most optimal place or
Yep. Yeah.
most
So.
common place. What kind of click-through rate are we talking about?
So a unit like this, for example, on Food 52, is probably getting 3 to 4% click-through rate. I would say on average right now, the part of the publishers, you folks who are using ZergNet are probably hovering around like 0.5% to 1%. So there's a huge room for improvement, and most of that is attributed to placement on the page. So we definitely, on average, we're seeing anywhere between 2 to 4% click-through rate, and users trust ZergNet because they know it's all content. They know they're not gonna get scammed with some credit card or something like that, right? So the traffic is 100% dependent on the clicks. So you get a multiple of what you send in, essentially, right? So if you send in 100 visits into ZergNet today, ZergNet will return back 200 visits in real time. It's all done real time. The revenue is not paid on a viewability perspective, so we just pay on the impression. So every time that unit loads, you get paid. These are all really great questions. Yeah.
Can I ask one more? So we're looking at my analytics, loving it. You were like my top third referrer last week for traffic. So
You could thank your friends for that because it's coming. It's coming from the Mediavine sites.
my question is, how do you decide which recipes of mine you're going to show on other people's websites? Because
Yep.
there's some that I want featured more than others because
Yep.
they're hot right now.
Yep.
Oh, did somebody ask that and I wasn't paying attention? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah, so right now we're basing it just on our best practices. So when we go to your site, we scan. Literally, we're scanning through the site, and we're like, we know that these sorts of food items, like for a while it was like some sort of bubble bread or something was like really hot. I don't know why, but cloud bread. Yes, thank you. And so for example, we know that like other sites in our network, cloud bread's popular. So if you have something related to cloud bread, we might promote that. So by default, that's what we're using as kind of best practices on like in general what performs well in food. But that said, if there are particular recipes or articles or videos or whatever that are performing well for you organically or through social or something else, let the Mediavine team know, and our editors will curate that content. So we can create that kind of communication channel so we know, because the more we know like what's important to you, the more value we can bring to you in terms of traffic. So yeah, I know I probably ran over. Any other questions? This is awesome. One more? Okay.
You have, your list of explore these articles. Are you saying then that's a mix of our peers' content as well as content paid to be there?
Yes.
And hence that's how we get
Yes.
income.
Yes. So
and it's a random mixture or?
So always the first row will be the revenue.
Paid? Okay.
And the second row will always be your peers.
Okay.
So from a customization or a subcategory like verticalization perspective, we have the ability to verticalize that top row of content, which we're working towards now. That second row of content, we're not quite there yet because it's kind of everyone within the Mediavine community. Like it could be articles from anyone within Mediavine that's participating. So